Hi, I'm Kelly Curdy with Star Constellation Wag magazine, and with me today to talk about his character Ibrahim in the season four massively popular show The Bear. Please welcome Edwin Lee Gibson. Thank you so much, Edwin, for talking with me today.
Oh, cheers. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. The show just dropped. I have not watched it yet. Tonight, it's on my schedule to clear my schedule and watch the entire thing. I'm going to try to maybe binge it the whole weekend. The kitchen, the room, the kitchen in any home, in any restaurant has always been a metaphor for chaos and control. And the bear in your character, Ibrahim, is often seen as a steady kind of grounding presence in the kitchen and the beef window. How does the dynamic among the team shift in season four, especially as as the restaurant and the team face this like overwhelmingly popular hot new spot for foodies in Chicago reputation?
Yeah, well, you and I are alike because I haven't seen anything either.
Oh, you haven't watched anything.
No, now I do have inside information because I was there when
Of
we did.
course.
But no, yeah, the dynamics. You're asking about the dynamics between cast or between characters?
Three characters. How do they shift this season without spoiling anything,
Yeah.
obviously?
Oh no. Okay, I won't spoil anything. Well, I think what this show has a fair amount of transition that's like really fluid from season to season. Uh this season there's a lot of accountability is a word I've heard tossed around. The set when we were just talking about themes for this season. But there's also just there's always this burgeoning kind of thing happening, almost like a pot simmering over a burner. And this season, for those who haven't seen it, I think they're in for a bit of a treat because usually out of something that's on a big pot, it's a savory, but I think you'll get some sweet
Oh,
out of that pot, especially with regards to Ibrahim.
yeah.
Without telling too much. Um, but it's just this fluid, transition that's always happening. There are fences, and I won't tell you whether there are new ones being built or whether the old ones are being mended. Uh, but there's yes, but there's a lot of fences that are there as well. It's gonna be a really fun ride. Really fun.
Well, at the show's core, it is a show about trauma and how to overcome it or allow it to eat you alive. And
Mhm.
at the last three seasons, hinted at some internal struggle with Ibrahim. He might be facing maybe related to his past, maybe a little bit of PTSD. I guess you don't sew up a friend's a-hole, my favorite quote of yours on the show, without having some like heart wrenching stuff from your past. Do we
Yeah,
learn more about his backstory this season? Maybe his personal journey?
I think you learned about his fortitude, which could be related to his background. But not specifically. I'm not spoiling it when I say I think we're moving towards that with him.
Oh, okay.
But we just learned a bit more about his resolve and his personality because he's been through all of these things. And I love how you touched on the PTSD because um, some people need things to keep them kind of going. And I've been talking about this a lot, and I think it kind of I was thinking about the character, um, and I've been talking about this a lot recently. Anagrams
Mm.
and anagrams are where letters make one word, but the same letters make another word. And I've been thinking about Ibra and bear because it's an anagram.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't really realize that. And so I've been talking about that, and I think we on the show have been kind of like, yeah, that that is interesting that there's this PTSD it's different for both of these characters, for Carmi and for Ibrahim.
Right.
And I think that they're on extreme ends of PTSD and kind of, Carmi losing his brother, his fractured family, Ibrahim coming from this place that's been fractured and some loss there that we don't know yet. But just know I'm pushing, I'm pushing. And
You're
they're very
pushing. Oh, well, you bring a lot of subtlety and grace to the show. That a show that thrives on chaos. It really does. Some of the best scenes, I think, of The Bear are moments of silence and reflection. They're kind of tucked in between that war zone in the kitchen. As a stage trained actor, how do you get to those quieter moments, those emotionally resonant scenes? Do you have like a technique that you use to get into Ibrahim?
um my only technique that I've ever used is listening. How can I be the best listener? And I think you'll see me um utilizing that aspect of what I do as an artist for Ibrahim. I like those quiet moments, and we talked about keeping him quiet, just having his words be vital, essential, a lesson of some sort. Uh, but doing this allows me to actually work in a different way as an actor. Um, and I really love it. And I sometimes think people don't realize that they need Ibrahim until they don't see him. And
Right?
that's
Because he is this calming center amidst all of this that's going on around him.
yeah. So it's fun to play this character. I really, really love this guy so much. And he's a bit nomadic as I am coming from 40, I guess 46 years in the theater,
Hmm.
and working all over the world as an actor. So I understand that the thing about having to make home wherever you are, which is something I think is also really intrinsic in the bear. These people that come to this place and it has to be their home because they need it as much as the place may need. Well, the place doesn't really need them; they need the place.
Right. And especially for your character, I feel like he finds a sense of respect there. And I think the challenges that he's faced and he's sort of overcome shows some growth. What we do know about him, though, is that he's the Somali military refugee. And that experience, like we said, might have left him struggling emotionally, maybe some PTSD, but it certainly left him with a distaste of uniforms, which we learned in the first season. Will we get a chance to dig deeper into that struggle and how it affects both positively and negatively his work in the kitchen, his relationships, and also this new kind of path he's taking, looking into the business world, educating himself? Is there going to be more of that internal struggle for him?
Uh, I think this season you'll see the outcome of some of those struggles,
Good.
and what he decides is going to save him, but he also loves the place so much that he wants to help it as much as he can. A lot of people talk about where Ibrahim's from because he tells the story of the about the Battle of Mogadishu, but there are many people in East Africa, around the world, that actually migrate to other places, then fight in those armies. I don't. We've never defined, and we had effects in the bear and myself. We just kind of let people assume where Ibrahim's from. So we've never stated it. We've only heard
Oh,
about war, and we've seen him make chicken sugar, which is
mhm.
a Somali dish, but it's also made in different parts of East Africa. Um, so I'm gonna hold that secret about where he's from. We won't let that out yet.
Oh, I'm excited to find out about that because I think everyone assumes Somali based on
Yes.
the dish, based on the story, based on the Black Hawk Down. I think
Yeah.
people assume that. So that's on us if we assume things.
Well, no, that's okay. But then I was like, well, I don't necessarily look Somalian, but I could. but I could be Somali,
Right.
but he could be Somalian. So that's one of those Easter eggs that we kind of let the audience kind of go with.
Go in that direction. Well, Ibrahim, he carries this, like I said, quiet dignity in the way he approaches food and his work and his coworkers, and it's very different than Carmi and cousin Richie, whom I also think are dealing with these traumatic experiences from their life. They each handle it in a different way. Ibrahim often feels like a man shaped by heavy memories, the passage of time, and also this quiet struggle with confidence that with change. When he's faced with change, he has to struggle with confidence. How much of that characterization comes from the script, and how much of it do you draw from inspiration outside of the script, your real life, anything like that?
Oh, well, I go back to the idea of being a nomad. And uh when I what's interesting is that um Christopher, I'll just give a little bit of backstory. Christopher said that he saw me in a play in Chicago in 2017 and always wanted to work with me. Um, I didn't know that until I read for this role. Um, I moved to Paris and I worked there for a couple of years and I came back to the States. And I say all that because when I think about Ibrahim, I think about how Christopher described him. He's described as simply a mystery who's lived 1,000 lives. That's all I got.
Oh, so a
And
lot to dig into there.
there's a yeah, like some people would say that's not enough. For me, it was so much, and for you as well. And so then I began to think about even his trajectory, whatever country we say he's from. How did he get here?
Hmm.
And just whatever that trek is, that in itself comes with loads of questions for me as an actor and loads of answers which lead to more questions. I'm not interested in the answer. I'm only interested in the next question. And so I think it's really, really a great opportunity to work with a character to kind of figure out things and to also recognize, to have him recognize the struggles that Richie is going through because he was working with Richie
Right.
and with Mikey and Tina before Carmi got there, and now to recognize kind of what Carmi's going through, and I think you'll see a really interesting scene, and a scene that I actually had a hand in writing
Oh,
this
nice.
this season. Our and I yeah, and I didn't know it was gonna be in the season until I got to set, and Christopher said, "Hey, that scene that you wrote that I saw, it's in the season." So
Did
that was,
that? Were you so excited about that when you heard?
yeah, as a writer, you're an artist, you're just trying to grow, and one of the special things about this show is that Christopher and Joanna, the co-showrunner, everyone's so open to the talents of everyone else. I'm sure I'm not spoiling anything by saying that where Io plays Sydney directed an episode last season,
Right.
he and Lionel, who plays Marcus, they wrote one of the episodes this season. So yeah, so it's very, very open uh space that artists don't normally get to. So
Right. And you guys know your characters better than anyone. So, you sit in them, you marinate in them. So your opinions, I think, probably about them weigh heavy in an open set like that where you're allowed to have opinions. That's fantastic.
yeah, yeah. I just did myself up. I just do a practice each season where I just keep myself busy as a writer. So I write a scene every season,
Hmm.
just on my own. But one of the producers saw something and said you should show this to Christopher. So I eventually did, and he said he really loved it. But that was it, and then it ends up in the show. So that was kind of cool.
Happy surprise.
That's about.
The show, it puts a strong focus on perfection versus progress. And we saw that in your story with Ibrahim, who was pushed beyond his comfort zone. How does that internal conflict play out this year in this storyline? I really find his character one of the most fascinating of all of the characters because while everyone else is pushing themselves for perfection, he's okay with what he's good at. And I think it took a while for him to be okay with that. And I really appreciate that story. So how does that play out this season?
I've been talking about the results of things, and I think he's realized where his space is. It's where he always thought it was, but then you want to grow. You're not afraid. You made him. He was afraid of the change, but that didn't stop him from attempting it.
Right.
Now he knows that just didn't work, and I think we see this season a man who's really found his space, really found his place, and who's very grateful for the patience that was shown so that he could find this space in this place. Because oftentimes things like that happen. Restaurants are moving so quickly, and you may be gone, but maybe he brings something so valuable that Carmi and Sydney really want him around. And Tina wouldn't have anybody to jaw jack with if he wasn't there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Tina and Ibrahim relationship. Season three ended on many cliffhangers, leaving fans wondering if the bear is going to survive its massive success, if Sydney is going to leave the crew and the bear to go to Adam's new restaurant. With all the changes coming in the kitchen, including staff, should we expect new bonds to form for Ibrahim? Because, like we mentioned, he had a falling out with Tina. They made up. And I really love that relationship. But is there new bonds forming?
Yes, there are. I got you.
No spoilers.
No. Yes. There are definitely new bonds forming uh, with everyone. I think uh, Tina is really happy that her friend is there, but and also happy that her friend is finding his place and thriving. Um, and there's always going to be that support for each other and that love for each other. But throughout the season and throughout these characters, there are a lot of there's a lot of bonds that are happening, and people are really trying. They're trying to make this perfect dish, you
Right.
know. I mean, meanwhile, there's no such thing as perfection, but that shouldn't stop one from um, attacking the possibility. So yeah, you'll see a lot of those in this season. It's really fun. Ibrahim in particular has a really great one, and if you'd seen it already, you'd already be talking about it. But since you haven't, I won't tell you.
Don't spoil it. I can't wait to watch it. Were you? I'm sure the cast and crew were shocked by how wildly popular the show got instantly. Critics and fans could not stop talking about it. It's kind of like an actor's dream, right? To be on something that's just like a juggernaut like this, right? It's definitely an actor's dream. Who and you also guys are getting incredible guest stars. Like I mean, just top of the pops guest stars. Who has been your favorite guest star that's appeared so far?
Uh, well, I can't only because it's the guest star I'm working with this season, and that is, and I can't tell you because you haven't seen it yet. Uh, but there've been a
Dangling the
whole,
carrot, Edwin. Dangling the
exactly.
carrot.
No, but there's been a whole host, and it's like Bob Odenkirk and I, whenever we see each other, we just chat so much. Jamie Lee Curtis and I have just kind of since the last 2 weeks become really cool. Because I don't work with them so much, right?
Right.
Uh uh um um uh the whole slew of guest stars and people that want to be on this show speaks to the popularity and how different this show is. And to go back to part of your question, I don't know that this piece works um, without this group of actors. You have Liza, who plays Tina. She and I have been friends for 30 years. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, we go back to working in the theater in New York together. I lived there for about 15 years. And then you've got, Jeremy and who's grown up, on screen, and Eben, who's had his successes, and Io, who was gonna be on that trajectory anyway, because she was really writing and doing some other work before this, and Lionel, who's plays Marcus, who's also on that same tip. Uh, Abby Elliott, who's Chris Elliott's daughter, so she was on SNL for years and comes from that stock, and Maddie, who's a famous chef, um, um, who has all this great knowledge. So I think there was just all of these ingredients that made up this show. And I think when people saw it, they wanted to be part of it, because it's not often that actors get to be a part of something so character driven, something that doesn't consist of an edit every second and a half, but lets actors breathe in uh into their characters, and just tell the story, and have these great scripts that come. So uh yeah, it is such a fortunate situation.
And it's such a real story. When you talk to people who've worked in the kitchen, they automatically see themselves in a certain character or a certain scene. They recognize that chaos. They recognize those bonds that are born in chaos. And I think that's maybe it's touched the zeitgeist a little bit. It's really become something. Even myself, I made the omelet that they had that Cindy's character made. I was like late at night making that omelet. I think it's inspired a lot of people and also made people feel seen that are often not seen in that kitchen.
Yeah, yeah. I'm all over the world. My wife and I were in the UK last year, and in Paris, um, and couldn't walk down the street without people just saying, first up, what are you doing here? Why don't you sound like Ibrahim? And 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 then how much they love the show, and a lot of people from immigrant backgrounds in the UK,
Sure.
um, from countries in Africa, were coming up to me and telling me about how much this character moved them, and how um right they think I got it, how right they think the show gets it. Just down to that minutia, if you will. This show doesn't work if we don't get Chicago right, and it doesn't work if we don't get the restaurant industry right. But uh hearing these stories and having these people chat with me about it across the pond, where it's wildly popular as well, lets me know that as an actor, I I got this thing right, and that the creators let me find it, and uh and are satisfied with what I'm doing, such that they don't have to really give a lot of direction, um but that it means so much to people. They may not have expected those little things, but I think when you have a situation like this, the actor gets to do those little things.
Well, yeah, sure. And I feel like it. Not only you were saying that people were coming up to you and saying that you got Ibrahim right, but also even just the chaos of the kitchen, the food. It must have been right because you guys had Michelin star chefs begging to be on that show.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, but you don't know whether they wanted to be on the show initially so that they could see what was wrong. No, but no. Yeah. Donnie is great. great chef, and we had some other folks around Chicago and around the country. And we actually dedicated an episode to like kind of featuring these different chefs, um, and that's kind of an homage to what experiences they give us nightly. If
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah. Season four is in the can. It's dropped today. We're watching it. Everyone's getting excited for it. What's next for you, Edwin? Are you working on any other projects that we can look out for?
Yes. Well, actually, I just completed the edit on my first directing um job for the screen. I've written and directed for the theater, but I wrote and directed a film called uh, uh, A Pink and Red Dress Made of Satin Covered in Flowers, Mostly Roses. And I just finished the edit on that Monday. I was gonna do the whole thing, but Christopher Storer, our showrunner, said, "Don't try to do all of it. You're gonna spend all your money," and I spent all my money anyway. Um, so I shot a shorter version of it, and very very excited about that to bring that to uh audiences. We're going to begin the process of submitting it to festivals. I worked on two episodes of a series called Fallout.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Another popular show.
yeah, yeah. They called and wanted me to do a couple episodes of that. So I got to work with Walton
Oh,
Goggins.
nice.
That. Yeah. And yeah, and just trying to get a pink and red dress um moving and on the festival circuit and writing and smoking cigars. So that's
Nice.
uh,
You're stretching your acting muscle there with the bear and Fallout, and now directing too. That's a lot of what would you call it? Plates to be spinning at once.
well, I said I wanted to make something, and again, you want to stretch yourself as an artist, and people can really love you and really want to help you, but you have to go out and do things yourself, much like Ibrahim, I guess. And so I wrote this piece, and I used all my money from season three to pay for it, and I shot it in Tucson, Arizona, in December, right before we went back on the Bear for season four. And so I'm really, really excited about it. My first, as I said, my first time directing. Um, Shot it on a film, which is why I spent so much money, and a really, really great group of actors I got to work with, and yeah, very, very excited about that.
I'm excited about it too. I hope it makes it to all the festivals, and I hope I cover it.
Oh yeah, well, okay.
Yeah,
We'll have to send you something, let you see it.
I'd absolutely love to. What would you like to say to the fans who are like, they're so online, they're just going crazy about the bear already. Half of them haven't even watched it yet. They're losing their minds about it. What would you like to say to the fans who have followed you, your work, and now have discovered you even more in the bear?
Thank you. And yeah, I just really, really appreciate it. I don't take any of these moments lightly. When you are um doing this for your life, you also become really appreciative of the people that have supported you, that have seen your work, that are now just finding out about you. So I would just say to them, thanks for digging Ibrahim so much. Thanks for digging Edwin so much. And and miles to go before I sleep.
That's fantastic. Miles to go before you sleep, and I cannot wait to walk those miles with you on screen.
You're
Thank
gonna
you so much for talking with me today, Edwin. Fans, go watch The Bear. It's dropped on Netflix or on Hulu. Sorry, it's dropped on Hulu. Go watch it right now. Make sure you keep an eye out for Edwin's film that's coming out and him on Fallout.